Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something, ladies. Now, I know we live in a time where everything's about being open, being transparent, keeping it real and all that. And I hear you. I respect honesty. But see, wisdom, that's different. A wise woman knows everything ain't meant to be told. Some things you got to keep for you. See, your insecurities are not flaws. They're battle scars. They're areas you're still healing from, and healing is sacred. When you expose your insecurities too early, you're giving a man access to parts of you he hasn't earned yet. That's like handing someone your house keys on the first day they show up. You don't know if they're going to take care of the place or tear it down. You have to protect your inner space. There's nothing wrong with being open. But timing is everything. A real connection is built over time through trust, consistency, and character. You watch how he treats you when you're quiet, when you're winning, when you're struggling. That's how you know if he's safe. You don't need to tell him you don't feel pretty without makeup, or that you've been cheated on before, or that you don't feel good enough sometimes. Not right away, because if a man is only just getting to know you, he needs to see your strength before your struggle, your light before your shadow. And here's what happens when you reveal too much too soon. You shift the power dynamic. Suddenly, he knows what breaks you. He knows what makes you cry. And if he's the wrong kind of man, he won't protect that knowledge. He'll manipulate it. He might say just the right thing to trigger those doubts in you, make you feel like he's the only one who will love you despite them. And now you're trapped in a dynamic where your insecurity becomes a tool he uses to keep you dependent. That's not love, that's control. Instead, work on those insecurities in your own space, in your journal, with your therapist, with God. Build yourself up so that when you do share, you're speaking from strength, not desperation. You're sharing because you trust him, not because you need him to validate you. Because the truth is, no man can fill the holes you haven't worked on yourself. No man can love you whole if you don't believe you're worthy of that love to begin with. A wise woman knows how to hold her truth and when to release it. She understands that not every part of her soul needs to be put on display just to prove she's real. Some things are yours to carry until someone proves they can carry it with you, not for you, but with you. When a woman has her own money, her own career, her own hustle, there's power in that. There's pride in that. But just because you built something for yourself doesn't mean you have to broadcast it to every man you meet. Some men will see your independence and admire it, respect it. Others will see it and feel intimidated or worse, entitled. That's why it's important to move smart when it comes to your financial power. It's not about hiding it out of shame. It's about protecting it with wisdom. Some men come into a relationship not looking to build, but to benefit. If you show up leading with how much you make, what you own, where you vacation, or how many businesses you run, you might attract the wrong kind of attention. You're not trying to date a man who sees you as a shortcut to success. You want a partner, not a project. And if you put your financial status on display too early, you risk inviting someone in who's more interested in your assets than your heart. Money has energy, and when you've worked hard for yours, you deserve someone who sees the value in you, not just the value of what you bring. A man should be focused on who you are, not what you have. That's why it's important to give him space to reveal his own ambition, his own sense of purpose. Let him show you what kind of provider he is. Let him demonstrate how he handles responsibility. You can't truly see a man's intentions if you're too busy trying to prove you don't need him. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean pretending you're broke or downplaying your accomplishments. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your success, but pride doesn't mean disclosure. You can carry your confidence quietly. You can be the boss in your world and still let him step up in his own way. Because a good man won't feel threatened by your success. He'll feel inspired by it. But you have to give him the chance to show you that without clouding the picture with too many details too soon. A lot of women have been taught to lead with their independence, to prove from the start that they don't need a man for anything. And while independence is beautiful, love isn't about proving you don't need anyone. It's about choosing each other in spite of that. So let a man step up. Let him plan a date. Let him invest his time, his effort, and yes, sometimes even his money. Not because you can't afford it, but because it shows you what kind of man he is when he thinks you might need something from him. Financial boundaries are just as important as emotional ones. You don't owe anyone a financial resume on the first few dates. A wise woman leads with presence, not possessions. She knows the difference between having something and having to prove it. And in love, the only wealth that really matters is how two people make each other feel. There's something powerful about a woman who moves in silence, a woman who doesn't have to announce every dream, every plan, every goal she's working on. Not because she's being secretive, but because she understands that energy is sacred and vision is fragile. When you have a purpose, a calling, or a move you're about to make, you have to protect it like a seed. And seeds don't grow when you keep digging them up and showing them off. They need time, care, and a little bit of quiet. When a woman shares her every next move with a man too soon, she gives him access to her blueprint before he's even proven he knows how to build. Just because he's in your life doesn't mean he's ready to walk in your vision. Some men will hear your ideas and pretend to support them while secretly feeling threatened. Others may try to redirect you, not because they know better, but because they can't see as far as you can. That's not their fault. Everyone can't see your mountain from their valley. But if you're not careful, you'll start shrinking your dreams just to make him comfortable. Every woman has something inside her, an idea, a purpose, a vision that was placed there for her and her alone. And while it's beautiful to eventually share that with someone you love, you have to be wise about when and how you do it. A premature reveal can invite unnecessary doubt. It can bring on criticism, confusion, or even jealousy. And the worst part is, if the man you're with doesn't understand your purpose, he might talk you out of it before it ever gets off the ground. There's a time to talk and a time to act. A time to plan out loud and a time to move quietly. Not every strategy needs an audience, and not every dream needs commentary. Some things need to be nurtured behind the scenes until they're too strong to be shaken. That's why protecting your next move isn't about deception, it's about discipline. It's about knowing that a vision exposed too early can be weakened by the wrong energy. You also have to watch how a man reacts when you do share something important. Does he listen? Does he support? Does he encourage you without trying to take control? Or does he dismiss it, compete with it, or try to redirect you towards something that benefits him more than it blesses you? A man's reaction to your dream tells you a lot about his role in your future. But you won't know any of that if you reveal too much too fast. You also have to watch how a man reacts when you do share something important. Does he listen? Does he support? Does he encourage you without trying to take control? Or does he dismiss it, compete with it, or try to redirect you towards something that benefits him more than it blesses you? A man's reaction to your dream tells you a lot about his role in your future. But you won't know any of that if you reveal too much too fast. A woman walking in her purpose doesn't need applause to keep going. She doesn't need validation for every step she takes. When she's moving towards something real, something divine, she carries that next move close to her heart until the time is right, because the strongest plays are made in silence. The real breakthroughs don't come with announcements, they come with results. Every woman has a past. Some chapters are full of joy, love, and growth, while others are marked by mistakes, heartbreak, and hard lessons. That's just life. But just because you've lived through something doesn't mean you have to lay it all out on the table for every man who walks into your world. Your past is yours. It shaped you, it taught you, and in many ways it made you stronger, but it does not define you. And it certainly doesn't need to be unpacked for someone who hasn't earned that level of access to your truth. Sometimes women feel the need to over-explain, to prove they're trustworthy by revealing everything, to say, here's where I messed up, or here's what happened to me, or here's what I did when I didn't know better. And while that level of transparency may seem like honesty, it can easily turn into vulnerability without boundaries. The wrong man might take that information and view you through the lens of your history instead of seeing the woman you are today. And worse, he might judge you, label you, or use your story against you when it suits him. There are men out there who will take your truth and treat it with care. But there are also men who will hear about your past and feel like they have an advantage, like they know where you've been weak, where you've settled, where you've struggled, and they'll test those areas just to see if they can break you down again. That's why discernment is key. It's not about hiding your truth, it's about protecting your peace. It's about choosing when and with whom to share your story based on trust, not obligation. You also have to ask yourself why you feel the need to share certain parts of your past. Is it for healing or is it for approval? Is it because you trust this man or because you're afraid he won't accept you unless you confess everything? When you operate from a place of insecurity, you end up giving away parts of yourself before a man has shown he can handle them. And not every man is qualified to carry your history with the grace it deserves. Healing doesn't mean you owe the world an explanation. It means you've done the inner work. You faced your truth, and now you live with purpose and self-respect. A woman who's healed doesn't need to relive her pain just to feel seen. She brings lessons, not wounds, into her next relationship. And if she chooses to share something from her past, it's on her terms, at her pace, with a man who's proven he's safe. Some people think love means full disclosure from the start, but wisdom says let love grow first, let trust build, let character reveal itself. Then, and only then, can your past be shared in a space that's earned it, not just given away because someone asked. Emotions are powerful, and when a woman feels deeply, it's part of what makes her strong, intuitive, and connected. But with that power comes the responsibility of knowing how and when to express it. Not every man is emotionally mature enough to handle the full range of a woman's emotions, especially not right away. There's a difference between being real and being reckless with your feelings. Letting a man see every emotional high and low before trust and understanding are built can backfire, not because your emotions are wrong, but because they were shared in an unprepared space. When a woman meets someone new and begins to feel safe, she might be tempted to open up all the way, to let out every frustration, every fear, every past hurt, and every internal storm, thinking that doing so is a sign of closeness. But closeness isn't proven by emotional exposure. It's proven by emotional stability. A man doesn't fall for a woman just because she shows all her layers. He connects when he sees she can feel deeply, but still hold her ground. When she can be soft without falling apart. When she can express without losing control. Some women make the mistake of confusing emotional availability with emotional dependency. They begin to use the man as their only outlet for stress, sadness, or confusion. And while a real partner should be supportive, he's not meant to be your therapist or your emotional punching bag. If a man is still trying to understand you, to learn how you think and communicate, too much too soon can feel like pressure instead of connection. He may shut down, withdraw, or start to see you as unstable, even if that's far from the truth. It's not that your emotions are wrong, it's the timing and delivery that matter. A woman's emotions are sacred. They come from a place of depth and wisdom, but they must be managed with intention. That means checking in with yourself before unloading, asking if this moment calls for expression or reflection, choosing to share feelings in a way that invites understanding, not confusion or guilt. Emotional maturity is knowing how to hold space for yourself first. So when you do share, it's with clarity and purpose, not chaos and panic. A man will watch how you handle your emotions. He'll observe whether you react or respond, whether you lash out or lean in, whether your feelings dictate your actions or whether you can feel what you feel without letting it take over the room. That tells him more about your strength than any speech or story ever could. Being able to feel without falling apart in front of someone shows a level of self-restraint that commands respect. When you share emotions in a measured, thoughtful way, you teach a man how to treat your heart. You set the tone for emotional safety for both of you. But if you constantly lead with your emotional highs and lows, you risk turning what could have been connection into confusion. There's power in restraint, not suppression, and a woman who can hold her emotions without being ruled by them sets herself apart. Not every man deserves full access to your truth, and that's not being secretive, it's being smart. As a woman, your truth is valuable. Your experiences, your dreams, your thoughts, your heart, these are not things to hand out just because someone is present. Presence is not the same as purpose. Just because a man shows interest doesn't mean he's earned insight. Just because he asks questions doesn't mean you owe him answers. There is a deep difference between being open and being available, and wise women know how to tell the difference. Many women have been conditioned to believe that if they want a man to love them, they have to reveal everything, no matter how raw, how painful, how personal. But love doesn't require you to expose yourself before you're ready. Love builds in layers. It's not something that happens because you've unloaded every part of your soul into someone's lap. It happens when trust is earned over time through consistency, through actions, through moments where someone proves they can handle the weight of who you are. Some men are drawn to women with depth, but they don't actually want to do the work that comes with loving a woman like that. They want the beauty, the softness, the presence, but they're not ready for the storms, the complexity, the history. And when you hand over your truth too quickly, you give them the option to walk away with pieces of you they never deserved to hold. Some will walk away, others will walk away judgmental, and a few might even try to use what you shared to control or silence you later. That's not connection. That's exploitation. You have to learn to protect your story, not out of fear, but out of value. You are the only one who knows what you've been through, what it took to survive, how you got back up, how long it took you to heal. That journey is sacred. And you don't lay it out like a welcome mat for every man who smiles at you. You hold it close until he's proven he has the emotional maturity and integrity to receive it. Not everyone gets to sit at the table where your truth is served. Some people are only meant to stand at the doorway and watch you shine from a distance. There's also power in mystery, power in letting someone earn their way into your world instead of giving them a backstage pass from the start. A man should never feel entitled to know every part of you just because he's showing you attention. Attention is easy, consistency is rare. Wait for consistency, wait for depth, wait for the man who listens without rushing, who shows up without question, who values what you choose to share because he knows you didn't have to. That's the man who gets access. That's the man who gets more than just your surface. Everyone else, they get what they've earned and nothing more. Mystery is not about playing games. It's about maintaining power. When a woman reveals everything about herself too quickly, she takes away the sense of discovery, and with it, the natural tension that keeps a man intrigued and invested. A woman who knows her worth understands that she doesn't have to put every detail of her life, every emotion, every plan, and every thought on display to prove she's genuine. There's strength in what's left unsaid. There's wisdom in what's held back. And the most powerful women know that the more a man has to earn, the more he values what he received. In the beginning of a relationship, there's often a rush to connect, to bond, to feel close. But closeness doesn't come from oversharing. It comes from presence, from chemistry, from energy that builds naturally. A man who gets everything about you too fast doesn't get the chance to chase, to pursue, to show up in the ways that matter. When everything is revealed at once, there's nothing left to uncover, and without mystery, his curiosity fades. Men are wired to seek, and when you leave space just enough to keep him wondering, to make him lean in, he stays engaged. A woman doesn't have to be cold to protect her mystery. She can still be warm, kind, engaging, but she knows what to keep for herself, her fears, her past, her next move, her full emotional world. These are treasures, not tools for bonding. When she moves with discretion, she sends a message. Not everyone gets access. She becomes the woman who commands attention without asking for it. Not because she's loud, but because she's centered. Not because she overshares, but because she knows silence speaks too. There's also a deeper reason mystery matters. It gives you time to observe, time to understand who this man really is. When you keep parts of yourself to yourself, you create a space where his character can reveal itself. You watch how he reacts to distance, how he handles not knowing everything, how he treats you without full access. That's where you find the truth. Any man can act right when he thinks he's getting everything he wants. But how he behaves when he has to wait, when he has to work, when he has to earn, that's when you see who he really is. A lot of women give too much too early and then feel disappointed when a man loses interest or changes his tone. But it's not because they weren't enough. It's because they gave too much of their power away too fast. Power lies in what you choose not to reveal, in the ability to move without broadcasting, in the strength to say, you don't get that part of me yet. Not out of arrogance, but out of respect for yourself, your journey, and the value of your presence. When a man has to work to know you, to understand you, to keep your attention, he won't just chase you, he'll respect you.